people passionate about both sides of this issue. We want to bring in Mark Smith, constitutional lawyer and former Trump transition team member. Mark, thanks for being here. You know, the Federal Election Commission declined to bring a case against former President Trump over these hush money allegations years ago when it happened. Why do you think the Manhattan DA is so insistent on resurrecting this Stormy Daniels case?
Well, I think you got to keep in mind, Adrienne, that there are over 3,000 counties in the United States, and Manhattan, which is one of those 3,000 counties, has an elected district attorney who, at the end of the day, is a politician. He is elected by the people of the county of Manhattan. So certainly from a sort of local political perspective, going after Donald Trump, who probably got like 3 votes in the entire, island of Manhattan, politically for him may not be a bad move. Now, is this a good idea under the law? I think that's a very sketchy call, because this really looks to me at most like a civil dispute about how you characterize an expense. And since the underlying concept, Adrienne, is a potential violation of federal campaign finance laws, and the federal officials, both at the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York, as well as the Federal Election Commission, have already looked at this transaction and have decided to do nothing with it. It does seem to be a little bit of a stretch for an elected official in one county in the United States to try to pursue these charges. But at the end of the day, the district attorney has that discretion, and we'll see what he's going to do.
Considering this is a grand jury investigation where they're making recommendations, it's kind of like a test run. Can Trump, or does a fair trial even come into the conversation? Can he actually get fairly treated in Manhattan?
Well, there's an old saying about grand juries going all the way back that says if a prosecutor wants to indict a ham sandwich, he or she can certainly do so, because the prosecutor really does control the grand jury proceedings in a tremendous way. There's not really adversary arguments. It's not like a trial. So certainly if they want to get an indictment, I would find it almost impossible to believe that they could not get an indictment of Donald Trump on any charge they want in the county of Manhattan. Now, as to how a trial would look, that would be a circus, Adrienne. You could imagine how that would look. But yeah, I do think it might be very difficult for Donald Trump to get a fair hearing in the county of Manhattan, given it's so overwhelmingly blue and anti-Trump. I think it would be very difficult. I'm not saying it would be impossible. The voir dire in terms of the selection of jury would be long and drawn out and difficult. But yeah, I would say if you are a betting person at a fair trial for Donald Trump in Manhattan, oh boy, it would be hard to get that.
Okay, let's go lightning round. Right now, Michael Cohen, how much weight does his word carry?
Well, in the grand jury, I think it carries a lot of weight. At trial, probably a lot less so, because at trial, he's going to be subjected to cross-examination, and his criminal record is going to come out in a way it's not going to necessarily come out in the grand jury.
In terms of this case, 3 Republican House committee chairs are calling on the DA to turn over evidence and testimony. Could that happen?
In theory, yes, but realistically, if you're the district attorney in Manhattan, you're just going to exert some sort of privilege that says we're prosecuting a case, we don't turn anything over until it's over, and that'll be in years from now. So realistically, they're not going to get any information that counts from the district attorney, is my guess.
What do you think the perception is among swing voters of this case?
I think probably the initial thought is that Donald Trump is always in some sort of legal hot water. This is just the latest chapter of an ongoing battle. Donald Trump and lawsuits, Donald Trump and investigations. It goes hand in hand for the last 6 years. I think probably the initial impression is this is just the latest chapter of an ongoing investigation saga that's been going on literally for years with Donald Trump. So I'm not sure it matters at this point until there's an indictment.
And for sure, this has become par for the course. These are very expensive proceedings. Has New York City spent more than $130,000 to investigate this $130,000 hush money payment?
Oh, I'm sure they've spent millions of dollars in time and resources. And you do raise an excellent question, Adrienne, implicitly there, is whether or not the district attorney should be focusing on stopping violent criminals who are, rampaging through the streets of New York City, as opposed to dealing with Donald Trump and something that occurred allegedly in October of 2016 that has already been reviewed by the federal government.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.